Here we go. And okay. Giving him a call. And then I have to screen share with him. So it's going to take a couple seconds.
Hello?
Oh, hello. Welcome
Hi.
to DEVSOLUTELY.
Absolutely. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. We just talked a couple of minutes ago, of course. How are your tater tots?
They're right here.
And they
So
are beautiful.
I might be munching on them while we're talking,
I
if
think
that's all right.
that's the most professional thing you could possibly do. I
Right.
approve. A display of confidence and something. No,
So
tater
I don't.
tots are great. That's
Yes,
cool.
tater tots are amazing, and they're as indie as they get, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see any video of you, but I
I
guess I will pop open the
oh
Twitch stream
I
instead. I'll
oh
have that
no,
on the side.
don't do that. I'm working on it. Sorry. Hold
Oh,
on.
okay.
Share screens. Here it is. And you're gonna want to see this one. It's just it does these stupid things where it like deselects your video when I share screens, and I have to hide you from the stream until I do so in case it like tries to throw your personal information somewhere on the internet.
Ah,
'Cause
right.
Skype is evil. Do you see my screen now?
I do. Where'd all your hair go?
It's all here. I have a mohawk. I decided to change it up.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't seen you since you cut your hair then.
It's only been a couple of weeks actually since I did it. I just kind of I'd had the same hairstyle with the two little blue twists for a really long time, pretty
Yep.
much since we've been like people in the industry, and so I just was like, you know what? Screw this whole like having an image that people recognize thing. I just want to have
Time
something
to
on.
switch it up.
Yeah.
Well,
All
I think it looks
right.
cool. Mohawks are always fun.
Well, thank you.
I had a mohawk myself for about 2 months when I was like 26, I think. I think.
26.
I can't remember how old I was when I had a mohawk, but it wasn't very long.
It wasn't very long. Why wasn't it for very long? What happened?
I can't remember. I don't even remember why I had it. I think I just showed up to work one day with a mohawk and everyone was surprised, and I did it just for the
The
surprise, and
shock
then it
value.
just grew back out again.
Fair enough.
It takes a bit of work to keep the mohawk going because you have to like precisely like buzz down your hair around it and stuff.
Yeah, I figured I'd start pretty wide. It's actually like a pretty decently wide hair chunk so that I can mess it up and keep going in if I need to.
Well, see, you've got hair that can also gets pretty straight. Like my hair, when it gets too long, it just gets curly.
Oh,
So it'd be
really?
like I had like an '80s curl. You know how like
Oh,
Adam
like
Sandler looked in Wedding Singer?
like yeah,
Right.
you'd get like a little
Like a poof. I'd get
yeah.
like poofy mohawk row going back. And so, when it was short, it was okay, but the second it began getting long, I was like, this isn't gonna work.
So like the what do they call it? It's totally inappropriate. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like the Jufro, like the not like the I don't know what it's called, but like a mohawk style, like of just curly hair, kind of. Is
That's
that what
kind
you
of what
ended
it
up
would
with?
probably ended up being. Only not tight curls. It would have just been like wild, weird '80s like poofed up permy curls because my hair doesn't really get very straight when it grows out long. It just kind of goes like.
Becomes massively uncontrollable, basically. Is that the
I would have looked awesome if I were an adult in like the late '70s.
oh.
I would have fit right in.
You
But
missed your chance. Should have
yeah,
been
I
born
missed my
earlier.
chance.
Oh.
I'm behind the times, I guess. But anyway, how have you been?
Oh, I've been good. I've been obsessed with this whole Super Show thing for a little while, so that
Right.
kept
So
me
this,
busy.
I'm trying to think about this now. This is the fourth one you've done?
Yeah, yeah. The first one we ever did, you were in with
Right.
our Gus with the
Yes.
green light. It was like the green light Super Show at that time because they were all greenlit or hoping to be greenlit games.
Right. And that would have been like 2014. So you're doing like one every 6 months or something like that, right?
2013. It was in 2013.
2013?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Time goes fast.
Yeah, it does. It does. We've done one every year, but we started that first one was in the summer. And so
Okay.
since it's the winter in 2016, technically it's been like half a year less than 4 years. So
Gotcha. But
yeah.
you're trying to make it an annual thing that you guys do.
I would love to make it more than an annual thing, but I just don't have time.
Yeah, I imagine it takes a lot of energy. Well, not only time to like put together. I don't know. It's pretty awesome that you just threw it together in general because I mean, I don't know, things like this are how you get a lot of attention on smaller games that might not have. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's something very uh, cool about the Super Show, and I hope that you continue to do it because I feel like I know I've benefited from it. And other than just meeting cool fellow indies, I feel like it was also very good for my game. So I
Oh,
think that it's yeah.
that's awesome. Do you really? I mean, with the green light thing, I think it was even more impactful because it was just a little free. Everybody can go and click on this button now, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's how I experienced it was as
Yeah.
the green light, as the green light super show. But I mean, but still, I feel like, well, especially as a solo dev, it's getting me out there to talk to more other indies, which I think is important because sitting here in this little attic room, it's very easy to become antisocial and forget how to talk to people. So I
Yeah.
feel like there's something healthy in just showing up on stream and talking to a bunch of people and saying hi to fellow indies every so often.
Hello to the humans. Yeah, it's definitely one of the reasons that I feel like it motivates me to keep doing it is it's not only connecting me to more devs because I'm that kind of recluse slash social person. So like having friends on the internet is just perfect for me. um, but seeing other devs connect is also like a really awesome thing. So it fulfills all of my happy spots. But
So okay, so this is you just finished the fourth annual Super Show a couple hours ago,
yeah,
and it seemed like you ran a little bit longer this year than you'd done in previous ones too.
the I feel like you're interviewing me. This is interesting.
Sorry.
No, it's great. It's fine. Hey, this is just a conversation. I love it. Yeah, no, I think the Greenlight Super Show was 15 hours long, and every
Right.
game had like half an hour, kind of. I mean, like had like 20 some games, and it
Yeah,
just
it
went
didn't
by.
seem as crazy as what you were doing the last couple of days.
It's because I've become more crazy. I think. I
Yeah, this is
tried.
gonna
Oh,
you're getting into PR stunts soon. It's gonna be an
yeah.
annual thing to see how far you can push. Like add an extra game every year, extra half hour. Pretty soon you're going to be up to the point where you need to have a doctor on staff
Oh
just in case
gosh.
something goes wrong.
Yeah, that would yep. I could definitely see myself doing that. It's like watch if her heart gives out as she doesn't sleep for 72 hours.
Were you at least doing shifts with Calvin, or was it just you?
We actually, what I did this time around was I didn't want to kind of totally screw up our own sleep schedule because we need to make games.
Uh
And
huh.
kind of, we have a little bit of a team now, and so they have normal people schedules, and so we're trying desperately to maintain normal people schedules.
Yep.
But so this time I decided to stretch it out over 3 days and do because I'm still crazy. I couldn't help it. I ended up doing 17-hour blocks for the first 2 days. So
Okay.
basically, I woke up, I got out of bed, I turned the stream on. We streamed until 4 in the morning, and then I went to bed. So I'd get like 6 hours of sleep.
Were you active the entire time? Because I know you had guest streamers coming in to help out too. Were you active the entire time?
Yeah, the guest streamers were there because if I tried to run the show behind the scenes and also stream, I would have been a hot mess.
Gotcha.
Like total flat out complete hot mess. Just as it was, I pretty much like the the Greenlight Super Show, everybody kind of got their half hour, and it felt like it wasn't enough time. And so the
It
last
was
two
pretty
Super
quick.
Shows, yeah, it just zipped by. The last two Super Shows, I think it did somewhere around 45 minutes. And I was like, I think devs need an hour. And that's why, like, let's just take huge portions of time for this one, and, it'll be good. Whatever, 17 hours, each dev will pretty much each dev got an hour. And the time still went by super quickly. And, like, at the half hour mark, I was messaging the next dev to make sure they were home and, like, just doing all of this. I was like a telephone directory person, kind
Right.
of like just doing all the behind the scenes stuff. And
That's I don't know.
it's,
I cannot imagine how stressful all the logistics for it would be. So kudos to you.
well, thank you. um, but enough about me, Joe.
Yes.
You can't dodge these questions for too long. I'm sure there's a pile of people who are wondering who it is that I'm even talking to.
Oh, hi. I'm
So,
Joe Mirabello. I made a game called Tower of Guns a few years ago, and I was on the very first Super Show. Um, and Tower of Guns has since gone on to be released on PC, Mac, Linux, Xbox One, PS3, PS4. It was in a Humble Bundle, and it was on PS Plus. It's been all over the place.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's
it's
been
been
incredibly successful from what I
well.
can
I mean,
see.
it's. I wouldn't say incredibly. I would say modestly. I think it's done pretty well, especially since I was such a small team. But I can't go back and be like, I'm a millionaire. I
Well,
can't say that. But I can say that I have definitely done far better than I would have if I had just been working for somebody else like I had been before I went indie.
right.
So it
You
was definitely the wise decision to stick with indie.
good, good. Yeah, stay indie. um, it has been a little while since I last talked to you about it, but if I remember correctly, you used to do art. You aren't
I
like you
did.
don't have a programmer background,
I do
and
not.
you made
And
most of
it
Tower of Guns by yourself.
I did. I had to learn a lot about scripting. I mean, I wouldn't call it coding per se. It was mostly behavior and gameplay scripting, and it's something called Unreal Script. Hey guys, real quick aside, check out this hat. I have to show off my hat. This is. Wait, hold on. Where's my camera? There it is. It's a Tower Guns hat that my brother got me for Christmas. It's embroidered. Also, I can't set it straight there. There we go. Anyway, uh,
He's got
what was it?
swag that you can't
Yes,
have.
swag. Yeah, it's a single use. It's a single item
Elite,
rather.
elite swag. It's a
Um,
purple description on it.
this is my purple hat of holding.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I had a art background. I was a tech artist, an environment artist, and a tech artist. I worked on a game called Titan Quest, and then I worked for the 38 Studios on their large MMO that they were working on, and that studio went like gloriously out of business. It was in the papers, and there was
Oh,
like crazy scandals around it and stuff. And I wasn't involved with any of that stuff. I was just an artist doing my thing, but it got I think Rhode Island is still posting articles about this 38 Studios fiasco, now 4 years later or whatever it is. It was a pretty crazy way for a company to go out of business, and it involved like the FBI coming in and seeing whether or not the finances were being handled legitimately. And
wow.
yeah, well, because it involved like a state loan from Rhode Island for a significant amount of money.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, I don't know. It was pretty crazy, and I don't know a whole lot about those details because I was one of 300 people,
Right.
um, and fairly low on the totem pole. But at the same time, I was like, if the company's going to go out of business, I can do that well on my own. So that was the point I decided to go indie.
I can go out of business all on my
I
own. I
could
don't
go out
need
of
their
business. I
help.
could do that. So I was like, well, I was tired of also working on a game, and then I had worked on that MMO for like 5 years, and I was like, if the next project I work on is going to fail, I don't want it to be because of some businessman's bad decision. I
Yeah.
want it to be because of me.
Yeah.
So
That's one of the things that I feel like people kind of forget is even if it is a AAA game, everybody working on the project really cares about what they're doing and are
yeah,
excited and passionate about video games the same way indie devs are. So that's one of the things that happened there is you were like pouring your heart into this game and
yeah,
then
and I
it
mean,
got like
yeah, it got cut off I'd been there for like 5 years, so I had really like nurtured that project through a lot of like problem solving phases, and it was a lot of really interesting problems, and I learned a lot working on it, and we were at the point in the project where things were really beginning to kind of congeal together, and that was exciting. And then it was kind of like, oh nope, never mind, cut off. So uh, um, I guess that was kind of the kick in the butt that I needed to go and do my own thing. So in a way, it was good. It didn't work out good for everybody because there was a lot of people who were stuck in much less fortunate situations than I was. Because I mean, I was, uh, my wife and I didn't have kids at that point. Now we've got a little baby.
telepathy. That's
Right.
right.
So we didn't have kids at that point, and I had been saving because I was like, maybe someday I'll do the indie thing, and so I'd been saving money on the side, and neither my wife and I have, neither my wife or I have very expensive habits, so it was very low overhead, and it just made sense, and it worked out well for me. But like, there were some people who were really caught in a bad situation when that studio closed because it
Oh
was like no
yeah.
severance. There were some people who were caught with two mortgages because 38 Studios had promised to help them relocate, and so they had done some weird stuff where they would help pay off one mortgage to help them get a house where they relocated to, and yeah, it was really weird. Anyway, that's ancient history. So
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's a lot of drama can happen in the scene
yes,
to
in
be sure.
any scene, and yeah, I mean, especially when you're talking three, that's something else I think a lot of people don't realize about the big devs is that there's, when you have a big game like that, it's not just 300 people working on it. That's 300 families, or
Yeah.
300 mortgages, or yeah, it's can be significant when you see a studio fold. And you're like, whoa, okay, that sucks.
Yeah. How so I experienced this a little bit personally. Like when we started working on Upsilon Circuit
Yep.
and I drafted up a contract for a contractor to work full time to help us with the
Yes.
game. I broke a sweat when it was like time to actually like sign like the feeling of being responsible for someone else's livelihood. It was
It's
terrifying to me. Did you
it is
experience something
terrifying.
like that? Because
Yeah,
right
I
now you've
mean,
got a bigger team, right? You're like
I
starting
I do
maybe have
actually.
other people
I
help.
think one of them is probably in the chat. Is Memories in 8-bit in there?
Memories in 8-bit. Yes, I do
Yeah.
see
So
him.
he is a fantastic colleague now. I guess I should call him of mine, who's helping me out on my next project, which I can't talk about. He actually helped out a lot on Tower Guns as well.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Uh, yeah, he was like probably the biggest fan of Tower Guns, and he was also a big Linux nut. And so when it came time to work on the Linux port, I was like, "Hey, can you maybe help me out, and I'll pay you to test these things because I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to Linux." So, and he was just fantastic, and we've kept on working together. And um, now, I mean, everyone that I'm working with on a contract basis on my next project is part time. So it's not like a full time commitment with people. I don't have any full time employees or contractors. But at the same time, I am expanding into a much bigger scoped thing than I had before. I'm
Right.
working with a buddy of mine who's doing sound help, and another buddy who's doing animation help, and other partners in Europe that are doing a lot of programming stuff and helping me out with biz dev stuff. So it's across multiple time zones, which is exciting, and across multiple continents, which is exciting, and it's yeah, it's been exciting to get to that point. I guess just to grow, and I'm all right with growing slowly, especially after something like 38 Studios, which grew really fast.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's just take things gingerly and kind of step by step, one person at a time, get a little bigger with each project, and see how that treats me.
I think that's a responsible way to go, especially with the game industry being such a fluctuating thing.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know what it is, but I've been watching this industry for at least 10 years now, and it is never a solid thing. Everybody's always like, what's happening?
yeah. The
So,
game industry is really fickle, and it's sad. And it's also like the thing that's also really sad is that, like, I don't know, but indies have it a little bit better than AAA in that regards because the indie overhead is so much lower. But it's like in order for a AAA game to even get any traction with the public mind, it's like they have to pour millions of dollars into these games. They're huge games, like 50, 60, 100, 200, $300 million budgets. And it's like, yeah, if something goes wrong, there's no way you're going to survive that. And they know it, but that's what they have to do.
yeah, go big or go home is kind of the only way they can do it in a lot of
Right,
ways.
exactly. And so, like, it sounds really cynical, and it is, but like the cost of setting up a new studio and hiring all those people from scratch is oftentimes cheaper for like Activision Blizzard and Ubisoft and EA. It's cheaper to just fire everybody, wait until they got another project, and then hire a whole new studio than it is to like keep people on for another month or two because there's just they need so much help to build games that are at that level.
It's such a
Uh,
massive, yeah, it's like a massive group of people doing stuff.
yeah, it's like a small town getting together to build a game, and I mean it's hard enough to organize, 5 or 6 people to build a game, let alone 5 or 600. I mean, or if you look at something like the Assassin's Creed games, there's thousands of people working on those.
That's, yeah, that, whew. And it's interesting too because what's happening is there's this tendency for these AAA games to not even try to change what they're doing. They're like Assassin's Creed is safe, kind
Right,
of.
exactly. Well, they have to because I guess I don't know. I mean, you can get into a whole philosophical debate about whether or not it's wise for AAA to innovate or to hedge their bets on what they know will sell as much as possible. That's another reason why I think indie is more interesting because we don't have that limit. We can be as risky as we want, and
Yeah, worst case scenario, it's 3 or 4 people looking for a job instead of
Right.
300. Yeah.
Right. And the local game dev scenes can support 3 or 4 more people looking for a job if an indie studio were to close. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, I personally rather I find that there's a lot more innovation happening in the indie space, but
It's it kind of makes sense that that's the case because there is definitely that freedom.
yes.
It definitely doesn't mean that the people working for AAA companies aren't nearly as creative or something like that. They certainly
No.
can be and are. It's just that there's these responsibilities and restrictions that kind of come from higher up.
And I think they are innovative in some ways. They'll like borrow stuff that they see from other places. There is innovation going on for sure, but it's a lot of refinement innovation and not like complete
Right.
swivel. I don't know. This is
It's more
a
subtle.
very weird conversation for two indies to get into on an indie stream, but
Oh, that's what
I,
this is for.
I have an off-topic question real quick.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is when I eat these tater tots, is it being picked up by the microphone badly?
Oh, I don't
Let's
think
hear.
so. It's like you're just chewing on air. There's no sound. They're like
Cool.
ninja tater tots. That's
Because
kind
it
of
sounds really loud in my ears, so I'm not sure whether or not it's picking up on the microphones or not. They're crunchy tater tots.
your cheeks are absorbing all of the sounds. We're good. We got it. um, I want to kind of wrap up this kind of conversation because that's not really interesting. Everybody can talk about like AAA games and stuff, but what you are saying does kind of wrap into something else that someone asked a little while ago, and like something you said just a tiny bit ago. And I guess the question that sort of has to follow up on this conversation is, you said that you were saving up money to become an indie dev prior to actually doing it.
Yeah.
So in that sort of a vein of thought, how did you feel getting hired by AAA studios? Like, what kind of a feeling did that have, and how did it change over time?
Well, in the beginning, that was all I wanted to do was I wanted to go be a AAA dev. I wanted to go work on big games, and I loved first-person shooters. And so the first thing I did was start applying to companies making action RPGs. Actually, so yeah, I never ended up working on a first-person shooter. I don't know why I never applied to companies that were actually working on first-person shooter games, but I guess it's because they were not on the East Coast.
Well, you know what they say: when you love it, let it go, right?
Maybe so you don't get burned out on it. Maybe,
Who knows?
but so yeah, like I worked for a company called Iron Lore, and Titan Quest was like the first game I was working on. And I was really excited to be there because it was like I was surrounded by people who were so skilled and working on it. Really like it was AAA, but it was like this was back before the indie world because they might have been considered indie back then.
How
There
long
were-
ago are we talking?
Talking like 2005.
All right, yeah,
Yeah.
So just at the cusp of when indie was starting to.
Well, it was before Steam had come out, or before Steam was around, but before it had been popularized with
Right.
non-Valve games.
Exactly.
And it was exciting to work with. Just like the team was probably about 30 people, and it was a decent budget. So it's like at that point it was AAA, but nowadays it would have probably been called indie. But it was just like a good group of people, and I really felt like I had like a I want to say like a kind of like a family or like a network of pals there. It's like they gave me a bunch of friends. They were like, "Here, come up to Boston. Here's your friends."
That's awesome.
And so that was cool. That was one of the coolest things I'd ever experienced. Yeah, it was like, "Here's your desk. Here's your copy of 3D Studio Max. Here's your friends."
Here's your friend.
Right. And I hung out with them all the time because they were great guys. Still friends with a lot of them.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
and I worked there for like 2.5, 3 years. And I was like, you know what? It's time for me to move on. It's time for me to go work for another studio, like a sophomore studio. And 38 Studios had opened up literally across the street.
Oh,
And
that's
I
convenient.
thought, yeah, it was very convenient. I was like, maybe I should go work for. I was going to start getting my resume and portfolio ready to like send out applications to like Valve and to like id Software and like all the places that I dreamed about working when I was a kid, all the ones that were still around at least. And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll move. But at that same time, I had started dating a girl, and I was like, you know what, 38 Studios is right across the street. I'm dating this girl. This is interesting. Maybe we'll just hang out here for 3 months, and I'll see how the studio that's starting up is going to go, and how this relationship is going to go. And I was like, see how both of them are going to go.
Yeah.
And it's like, That was 7 years ago at this point, and the girl and I ended up getting married like 5 years later, 4 years later, or whatever, 4 years later. And that studio ended up being around for a long time, and it went from being like 10, 12 people or whatever it was when I first got on board to 400. Um,
That is growing really quickly, isn't it?
yes, it was it
Wow.
was it was like doubling every year or something like that. Now it needed to be because we needed the staff for what they wanted to build, and it had the budget for it
Mm.
because there was a couple of really big celebrity names behind it. Um, but at the same time, it's I feel like if they had, well, I don't know. I don't want to get into that the what ifs there because you could probably, what do you call it, armchair quarterback that studio into the ground.
Oh,
Uh,
armchair court. Yeah, I
right.
like that term. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, you could probably do a lot of like in hindsight, you should have done this or this or this or this. But I enjoyed working there. It was a fantastic place to work. But I started seeing the indie scene kind of grow around as I was working there, and I just started saving my money, just thinking like maybe I'll do something. Maybe I'll take 6 months off and do something after this
Mm.
studio. Maybe I'll. And I kind of never thought I was going to do it.
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
yeah, I kind of was like, I'm putting this money aside. Maybe I'll never end up using it. Maybe it'll just end up becoming a college fund for if I have a kid down the line, or maybe it'll just be travel money or
Right.
something. But I was like, I wasn't very. I'm not what you would call a person of extravagant expenditures. I don't really buy anything.
Fair enough.
So and I was living in a very cost effective way. I mean, it's I wasn't really spending any money, and I mean, I was not earning a crazy amount of money, but if you're not spending any money, then
Yeah, then you don't
just
need
put
to.
it aside.
Yeah. No.
Um,
And it never
Now, it's
hurts
not
to
to
have
say,
savings, right?
what was that?
It never hurts to have savings.
Right. Never hurts to have savings, and I was like, someday maybe I'll use this to spend a little bit of time as an indie, or relocate, or it wasn't a crazy amount of money, but it was enough. Uh, and then like 30 studios closed, and indie, and I was like, okay, now I'm going to do the indie thing, and but yeah, it's like I kind of looked around when that studio closed, and I was like, what do I want to work on more than anything else? Wait a second, I wanted to work on a first person shooter at some point. Maybe I should go do that.
Yeah,
So and
finally.
I had no idea what I was doing, but I learned as I went along, and it was fun.
Yeah. How long like so you had to kind of learn as you went sort
Yeah.
of with Tower of Guns. So how long did it take you to before you actually felt really comfortable inside of the system that you were working in and things started to actually take the shape you wanted them to? Because I know that can
Uh,
be really difficult when you're just stepping into it.
what's today's date?
Oh, so never. So,
Right.
okay.
Well, no, that's not quite true. I began like I would say I began to really, really hit a stride about 2 months before launch.
Oh, really?
So it was like really right up there at the end, and then I felt like all the pieces were in place, and I was just rinsing and repeating, and I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I feel like I know what I'm building, and um, part of the thing that pushed me, maybe even a little bit earlier than that, but it was like showing things to public really made a big difference there. So this was actually after the Greenlight Super Show. This was after the game was available for pre-order for people, and I was still kind of feeling my way around through it, and it was like somewhere between the first alpha that people saw and like I would say like the Christmas season of 2013, like things began to congeal, and I was starting to get like excited about it and starting to feel like, okay, I know what I'm building here, I know where I'm going, and like that feeling, like that feeling when that happens, and it's happened on every game I've worked on. It's like there's a point where things just start to congeal, and it's like the magic moment for game devs, where it's like all of a sudden there's like clarity, the clouds part, and you're like, I know which way I need to go. Right.
Yeah.
And so like that moment was probably the Christmas season of 2013 for me.
Wow.
So with a little bit late in the dev because I had already developed a lot, and I was kind of still going. I kind of had the vision already there, and I kind of was like stay the course. But I felt comfortable enough to like know if I were to have had another year of development on the game, it would have been well, it would have been a lot better than it was. It was okay. It came out pretty good, but I feel like
Yeah.
it would have been better because I finally feel like I knew what I was doing, and I saw where all the problems were.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, and I took instead of taking the philosophy of saying like, okay, I should sit back and take another 6 months to make this game into something different. I was of the mindset of okay, that's a timestamp of who I was at that moment
Oh,
as a developer. Let's use these lessons on the next project and make ourselves even better and better and better.
so in a way, it's like a tattoo. You're like, I'm not changing this. It's mine.
Right.
It's
It's
the
like
story of this.
I may not be the person I was when I got that tattoo, but it's still part of me.
Yeah, that was who I was when I got that tattoo. Yeah,
Right.
and continue
Yes.
the
Kind
growth.
of. Yes. Um, and I mean, there's you could make arguments either way about whether or not I should have incubated the game a little bit longer, but I was feeling like I needed to get it done and push it out. Um,
Yeah, and really, it's your game, so you do what you want. So there, right?
yeah, I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah.
No, I mean, also, Colleen was like, when's this game going to be done?
Right?
Right. She was actually very, very patient throughout the whole thing,
That's awesome.
but there was kind of like this pressure of like I wanted to be able to contribute because uh, she was still working through that time. We were dwindling on the amount of savings I had, but really slowly because of the fact that she was still
Right.
working. Like we were something like we had worked it out to the point where our savings were going down. It was ticking down by like $300 a month,
Mm,
something like that, and that's it. Because of the way we had balanced things out, it was like we could almost live off of her income entirely, almost.
right.
But because of that, I felt like, and we had to cut a lot of corners to go that way. We had to make sure that we were being very cost effective. I became a coupon cutter, kind of,
Right,
not
right.
really, but a sale hunter. A sale hunter. I did
Mm.
all the groceries, and I was like, we're cooking every meal, and I got a lot better at cooking. Uh,
That's good. That's a good talent to have.
it's yeah, I've learned a lot about cooking. Um, but at the same time, it's like I felt like I wanted to contribute to the family coffers again. And so, in order to do that, I felt like I needed to release the game and hey, show the world or show myself
Mm.
that I was still a
A breadwinner.
positive, not the
No, I'm,
breadwinner.
I'm.
'Cause I mean, she's a programmer. It's gonna be
She
hard to be a
worked.
breadwinner.
She worked. She was a breadwinner for a while. You were
Yes,
basically making dough,
right.
right?
Yeah,
So
I was making dough. I wanted to show that I could contribute as well. That we both were contributors.
yeah.
Oh, hold
No.
on. She might be actually coming upstairs. Hello.
Oh.
Oh, hey, do you guys want to see my daughter on the stream?
Oh. Yes. I do.
Yeah.
I certainly do. What's
I
her
think Colleen's
name?
brain. We were just talking about you, Colleen.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to hear what they're saying because I've got my headset in right now. Thanks.
I remember meeting Colleen at PAX East.
Yep, there she is right there. She said that she met you at PAX East.
Yeah, sure, we've met.
Here, maybe I can unplug this and it won't be too echoey. We'll see. All right. How echoey is that on the stream?
I
Oh, it's bad.
oh, that.
Oh, it's bad? Okay. All right. The headphones are going back in then. All right. Hold on.
Why are the cats?
You switch over to cats. Oh, okay. So here's the daughter.
Ooh.
Aw. That is the cutest baby that we've had on the stream ever.
How many babies have you had on the stream?
Possibly
Oh my gosh,
just-
Amy, you close things.
Oh no, it's just one baby, but
Oh, I
definitely the
don't
cutest.
care. Here it is. She started kicking the keyboard, and all of a sudden everything closed on my desktop.
How old is she?
She is 9 weeks, 12, 10 weeks.
Almost 11 weeks.
She's almost 11 weeks.
2 months.
Weeks,
She's a
what
little
are
over 2
those?
weeks.
Oh
Smile.
my gosh, look at those beautiful eyes.
She's got very bright blue eyes.
She looks very shocked at the whole world too.
She is. She's starting to actually follow things and pay attention to things and smile at you and stuff. But yes, now there's evidence for the internet that she exists.
Oh, what a sweet. Look at her. Oh. Well,
Hello.
congratulations.
Oh, she's fussy. Okay, I'm gonna hand her back to
to No crying babies on the internet. That's not
no
allowed.
crying baby on the internet. Oh, okay. Bye.
Bye.
Oh.
So she's at the point now where she can't drive standard yet, but she can drive automatic and no. She's definitely growing up really fast though. I was telling I guess I posted some tweets about it the other day. Having a kid, it's like watching the world's slowest computer boot up.
Oh, interesting.
It's like, today she's learning how to track movement. The next day she's kind of learning her vowels. She's learning how to enunciate vowels. Oh, smiles came online. Today smiling came online.
Smiling Smiling is finally loaded.
The smiling module is loaded. So yeah, it's very funny to kind of think of it in that mindset and think of it as like her entire existence is booting up.
Yeah.
And it's a very slow process, but at the same time, it's pretty quick too. It's kind of neat how fast she's developing.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I want kids is to watch a human become a human. Like from like, that whole growth process is so amazing, and not
It's
like from a scientific standpoint. I'm not like I want to do science on my child, but just I feel
well,
like being connected to that process is be magical.
it's really magical. It's really cool. It's really intimidating. You feel like you're not qualified to be able to take this creature away from the hospital.
Leave it to the professionals, right?
Right. And also at the same time, it's like you do feel like, I don't know, there's this weird feeling now that I have when I think about every kid that I see. I'm like, that kid, like, it's like almost, I feel like really lucky that she's made it to each point that she's made it. Because it's like, you hear about the horror stories of situations going bad or pregnancies ending early or like, and it's like every step along the way, something could go wrong. And it completely negates all of the hard work from all the steps before then. Because pregnancy is no joke. I mean, like I wasn't the one that was pregnant, but like just having to see my wife go through it, it's like that is no joke.
It is scary. That I definitely agree. Like it's something that is still a pretty decently high cause of death for women. Like
for women and for the baby, there's things that can happen, and there's like, oh my gosh, these conversations are getting pretty real right now.
Great. Real is totally fine. I have lots of real questions for you. So.
Yeah, it's heavy because, or like you could be like, there could be something wrong with the baby, or like.
There's all kinds of developmental issues that you couldn't.
Right, and you start to wonder, am I doing things right? Am I eating my spinach? Right. Am I feeding Colleen her spinach? Is she eating her spinach? Like you begin to really worry about whether or not you're doing things wrong. And
interesting.
And at the same time, that a lot of these things are not caused by you. They'll be caused by like random, gene mutations or like environmental stuff that you couldn't control that you had no idea about, or about how the chromosomes fell. It's
all kinds. Yeah, it's so incredibly out of your hands in a lot of ways, but you feel like you have to take care of it and protect this amazing child anyhow, I'm sure.
Right. And so like that protectionism, it's like it doesn't go away, and so now it's like, it makes me feel like when I hear a story about like like so and so lost their baby at 4 months because of SIDS, I just think like, my God, that family like nurtured that baby through, from being from being like in the womb all the way like to birth, and all the way through birth to growing, and like they've changed 1,000 diapers, and they've like that family's been through some shit.
Literally, even. Yeah.
And it's like, and then after all of that, they finally think they're okay, and they finally think they're out of the woods, and then they lose the baby to SIDS. It's like, man, that's heavy stuff.
Yeah, definitely is. Definitely, like I've spent quite a few hours thinking about that kind of thing. I had a friend who was pregnant at one point, and I went to the midwife with her, like the clinic. They were going for like a checkup, and they were talking about all this stuff. And like I was looking around. I don't know. I didn't have a baby. I didn't really care about what was going on. I was just there with her, and I saw this little statue on a like kind of little ledge that had this like, it was just like a very abstract kind of parental figure shape with a little child figure shape on it.
Yep.
And I almost cried because I realized, like, suddenly it just clicked in my mind. I'm like, there are women who've been in here that are there because they had a miscarriage or something like that. And it's just,
miscarriages aren't uncommon. It's like
it's like a sin to talk about too.
Yeah, and it really shouldn't be, because it makes people feel worse when it happens. But it's like, I don't know the numbers, but I think it's 1 in 4 or something crazy like that. It's
really
like
high.
It's high.
And what people don't realize until they go through something like that, obviously I can't speak from experience, but you get attached to this idea of having a child, and it is your child from the moment you know.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So you're still losing a kid, even if you've never gotten to see it moving and breathing. And to me, that's even more tragic in a lot of ways. So it's like a very, very difficult, stressful period of time. Like the 9 months leading up to the child, and then afterwards,
Yeah,
I
it's
guess actually to draw it back into game development.
okay.
Because we should probably rescue this conversation at some point. How how has this whole new creature within your home, this responsibility, this child, how has that impacted the way that you approach game development? Because you suddenly, like, are you concerned at all about the future? Do you feel like maybe making indie dev games isn't stable enough, or
A lot, yeah. I mean, I am. But I also, to be honest, I just feel really lucky because of the fact that I'm in a good situation. I mean, Colleen's work is very good to her, and they're very understanding of what time she's needed. But then at the same time, it's like I do have a revenue stream that's coming in from Tower Guns, and that's uh, enough to kind of keep me going. And also, I've got plans for the for things that I'm working on in the future, and it's like, yes, it's something I do worry about, but at the same time, more than worrying, I'm counting my blessings because I know that I'm especially in the indie community, there are much, much harsher situations I could be in.
very true. Very
But one thing it has done is it has like, I don't know, I feel like I can't be messing around as much. I feel like I've got to not waste as much time because I don't know what sort of runway I've got in terms of how much. I feel like I need to treat all of my time as if it has a purpose, which sounds weird, but like I don't play as many games now, which is kind of sad. I'm like always working now. If I'm not helping out with the baby or I'm not cooking, I'm working. It's very strange. I feel like I don't want to say responsible, like more responsible. I just feel like my threshold for what I'm doing with my time has become a little bit more. I don't know what the right word I'm looking for is.
Selfless, kind
Delicate.
of? Delicate?
Delicate, yeah. The amount of time. I wouldn't say selfless because it's like this is going to sound weird, but I kind of think indie dev is it's kind of game development. I think is kind of a selfish profession.
I can understand.
Yeah.
That. Yeah.
Well, this is gonna sound weird. I don't want to go onto a soapbox here, but I kind of wonder. I kind of think it's a selfish profession because we're making games because we like to play games, and we're certainly not making games for money because there's not a whole lot of money out there unless you strike it big.
Yeah.
And we're not making games to impress our family because they don't know what we're working on. Like they don't understand what we're working on. So it's like we're really doing this because we want to do it because of ourselves.
That's true.
And if that's not the definition of a selfish profession, I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think that's okay thing, but I think we have to identify that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's people who are like wanting to improve the medium overall, but even then,
no,
the
like
medium is so small.
a more selfless thing to do would be to work at a grocery store.
Right.
A sense,
Well,
like,
right.
Yeah.
Because then you're in a service industry, or as a heck, even a lawyer is serving a purpose.
Yeah.
Whereas we are a luxury industry.
True. Very true.
And I would not trade it for the world, but I do have to recognize that it is part of it is of me wanting to be a game dev is selfishness for wanting to have ownership over something I've enjoyed my entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very eloquently said, actually.
Thanks.
Oh.
So I guess I'm having to come with terms with that. I have to not be as wasteful with like the amount of time I'm being as a dev. I have to work faster and harder and smarter and not forget to the other priorities in my life now. And so like, I spent before my daughter was born, I spent a lot of time working on different prototypes, and a lot of them kind of didn't go anywhere. I'm actually giving a GDC talk about it in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. I wish I was going to GDC. Oh. Anyhow.
Would you say you were, or you're not going?
I wish I was.
GDC is a good conference if you've never been to it.
We went once actually with our very first game. We got nominated for the IGF, but
What was your first game?
Never Not 8-Bit.
Never Not 8-Bit.
Yeah,
Oh, I never.
It's a sandbox MMO pre Minecraft being super duper popular, and we were actually in the IGF the same year Minecraft was, and it was frustrating because we had a kind of blocky aesthetic. So everyone was like, "Oh, it's a Minecraft ripoff," and we just wanted to kind of smack people's heads together, like.
No.
But I've wanted to go back ever since. But it's always around the time it comes time to like sign up and get tickets or anything like that. It's like, oh, we don't have the money or the time. Really?
Right. I probably would not be going this year if not for the fact that they were looking for some last minute people to kind of help talk at a workshop called the Failure Workshop,
Oh.
where you talk about things that went wrong. And so I'm actually going to talk about the last year of failed prototypes.
Interesting.
Right. So that's what my talk is going to be about. And that's kind of like when my daughter was born, I was like, okay, you got to stop wasting time. You could have identified these prototypes as being failures much earlier than you actually did. You were just being self-indulgent and wanting to solve fun problems. Like, that's the kind of thing I mean. Like, I need to start thinking smarter. I need to stop being It's fun to solve problems. It's fun to be like, I think I could do this and it would be really cool to this game.
Right.
But who does that serve? Does that serve the game, or does that serve you to have fun making something on the side for a little while?
Right, because a lot of fun inside of like game development is actually puzzle solving inside the thing itself, you know?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Puzzle and problem solving can be really fun. And I have to recognize when I'm doing something that's for the actual good of whatever project I'm working on, or because the problem itself is exciting and fun. Yeah. And I have to recognize the difference. So that's what I'm working on, is trying to recognize the difference between those two.
And you feel like you've landed on something and you're moving forward with it now at this point.
Yeah, I'm a couple months into it.
Yeah, because your daughter kind of lit a fire under your ass, I guess.
A little bit before then. It had been a project I've been wanting to work on for a little while, and so the stars kind of aligned, and like the people I wanted to work with kind of, we all kind of got on board with the same kind of ideas, and it's exciting. It's going to be a while before I can really talk about it in depth, but I can say that I'm happy to be out of the prototype hell over the last year.
I mean, it's very smart that you didn't do what a couple of like. I guess it's also like you're not a newbie as far as the game dev scene goes at all. But I know a lot of devs, they like come up with one idea and they just go and go and go, and they don't do a lot of prototyping, and they end up with a product that they're kind of regret sometimes.
Yeah,
so I think
and I mean, there's something to be said for like the prototype hell that I went through. It's like there was a lot that I learned about myself. I'm like, I learned that the kind of games that I want to make are not necessarily the games I want to play. Or the other way around. The games that I like to play aren't necessarily the games that I would enjoy making.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I learned an awful lot about. There was a lot of self-discovery, I guess, in the last year, and it was really confidence-shattering in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I feel like I got through it, so that's good.
That helps. Good. Yeah. So wait, Tower of Guns came out a couple years ago.
It came out, it came out in March of 2014. Is that true?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, just about.
Yeah, but then I spent like 6 months working on ports and stuff like that.
Right.
And then, helping out. I was working on some stuff on the side, and then I was helping promote the game and working on patches and ports. Because I did support it with a couple of patches for about 3 months, and then supported the Mac and Linux version of it. And that was when I started working with memories there. And then after that, I started working with a company called Grip in the Czech Republic to push the game out to consoles. And that was really exciting.
Console
but that also, that also involved a lot more support from me too, because I had to do things like, there was no localization in the game, so we had to build, like localization into the game, and that involved a lot of. So it's like while I was doing this prototype stuff, I was also supporting the game still too. Which led to a lot of juggling.
Juggling.
Yeah, and juggling is a good way to not get anything done.
Fair enough. Oh no! Hold on. What happened in chat? Why is everybody getting? Everybody's getting their messages deleted.
Everybody's getting their messages deleted in chat?
Somebody posted something that they didn't want people to talk about, I guess. I don't know what's happening. Everybody in chat, please behave. Be nice to everybody. Don't ban people. Anyhow, it's good. I wonder, are we like on the front page or something? Because that would do that. It doesn't matter. Who knows what's going on? But so anyhow, People behave. That's all.
Whoops, guys, wrong. You're good. I don't know what's going on there, but
It's okay. I trust. We have enough people who are modded because of the Super Show that I'm sure things will get settled. Anyhow, it's okay. So kind of got derailed a little bit. Oh, that's okay. We can just kind of pick up somewhere else.
okay.
Right? I mean, do you have
Sure.
any thoughts or something interesting that you'd want to talk about? Because one of the great things about this whole DEVSOLUTELY thing that I want to stress to you so that you take advantage of it if you want is we don't have to talk about video games at all.
Well, all right then.
Yeah,
Let's
like,
talk
do
about
you have allergies?
tater tots.
Tater
You know.
tots? What's your favorite
Yeah.
food? Do you wear pants while you work? Like,
Oh, these things are super cold now.
oh no! Tater tots when they're cold, that's horrible.
Yeah, that's like eating. Wow, that was really weird. That was like cold tater tot. That was one of the strangest things I put in my mouth.
You just weren't paying attention to temperature and you're just like, let's go. And
Yes. All right, so I won't do that one again. Um,
no.
well, I would be remiss if I didn't really quickly mention that Tower Guns is actually on sale right now on any game stand. I should mention that real quick. But it's on sale for pay what you want. You can get a copy of the ebook I wrote in 2010 if you buy it.
You wrote an
more than
ebook
average.
about what?
What was it about? No. It was a comedy, a fantasy comedy, like almost like a buddy story about a bumbling knight who was like super the epitome of chivalry and like cheesy knightness, and then a evil sorcerer who's the epitome of evil sorceryness, and they have to team up and fight across the land and do antics and stop an even eviler sorcerer. So I had fun writing it. It was very silly, and it was very kind of. If you liked Tower of Guns because of this crazy humor, it's full of that. But at the same time, it was like I was treating it like a learning experience. Looking back at it though, I think that there's some decent writing going on in there.
Interesting.
And I'm a pretty harsh judge of my own stuff, and I feel like there's enough puns that redeem it.
There you go, redeeming puns.
Right.
That's reason enough to get this. So it's got Tower of Guns and the book in
Yeah,
it?
and the ebook and the soundtrack, and it's pay what you want. So you can, if you beat the average, you get all three of them. The book was called Armpit of Evil. And if you go to armpitofevil.com, that URL is available. Can you believe it?
Oh my.
Then you can actually see kind of a little teaser about the book itself,
Awesome.
as well as some like little paintings that I did for it.
Very
Um,
cool.
But it's a very silly book with lots of funny jokes and strange absurdist humor and stuff. I guess I felt like there wasn't enough comedy in the fantasy genre. Like that mixture hadn't happened very often,
Oh, interesting.
at least in 2010. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that's mixed the two in video games, but I didn't feel like there's that much in books, and it felt like it was fun.
Very
Fun to write, at least.
Right. Yeah. Hey, sometimes that's all that matters on some level.
Right.
I guess. I
Yeah.
Fun to read would be good too. That's the ideal.
Yeah, but I
right?
had no delusions about it, becoming a super big success ebook or anything like that. I just wanted to be like, you know what, I've always wanted to write a book. Let's do it. And so I did it during my lunch break. It was actually, so I'm obsessed about stat tracking my time, like stat tracking time, and like
Interesting.
I wrote that book during my lunch breaks at work, and every day I wrote for like 1,000 words. And somewhere, I can't remember where, I wrote down the exact number of lunch breaks it took. And it's like, did you know it takes like 397 lunch breaks to write a book or something like that.
That's a great stat to have.
Yeah, it was something like that. I can't remember exactly how many, but I kept track of it and wrote it down somewhere. And it might actually be in the back of the book. It might be in the about section.
If it's included in the book, I think that would be very smart and lovely.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was included in like the about this author and about the book section of the book.
Very cool.
But yeah, I kept track of it, and that's actually something I've been doing for a long time now, like doing either 1,000 words of writing or an hour of spare time art every single day. And it's been a really exciting way, and I've been doing it now for 10 years.
Wow.
It's a really exciting way for me to explore new things I would not have otherwise made time to do.
That's really cool.
And
Like, I admire that, because sticking with something, like having a thing where you do it every single day, is that helps you expand as a person, I think. Like
well, that's my thinking, at least. My thinking was like, you know what? I'm not going to be sitting here being sad about not doing something. I'm going to chip away at stuff because I think I was like, I must have been 23 when I started. It was back at Iron Lore when I started, and I was like, you know what? I want to write. I want to write on the side, but I still like being a game dev, but I want to be a writer too. So it was just like, do it an hour a day and you'll get better at it. And I actually kept a log. Every single day I would write down what I wrote and how long I wrote for, how many words. And if I didn't write anything, this was in an Excel sheet, I would color that day red.
Oh, interesting.
And so what happens is, if you started getting a lot of red days in a row, you start feeling bad about yourself. But when you got green days, then it like started setting up a streak. And you'd look back and you'd be like, oh, I have 5 green days. I'm really tired today, but I don't want to break my streak. I've got to do my words. I've got to get my writing in.
Oh, that's
and so,
awesome.
yeah, it led to like streaks and combos of like, I like gamified my spare time. But it really like, and I tracked the indie game dev stuff in the beginning when I was kind of tinkering around with spare time art while I was working for 38 Studios. I was like, like, do I want to make a game? I don't know. Let's start learning about scripting. And so I was like, I treated that as my hour, like that day for a couple months. And I was like, we're going to learn how to script now. And this is the coolest thing, is that I would write down just one sentence about what happened that day too. I'd be like, got my car fixed, or went out to lunch with this person, or, did 1,000 words of writing while I was on a flight down to Virginia to see my family or something for vacation. But as a result, my history is now searchable for myself. I can be like, when was the last time I hung out with that person? Well, let's just Control F on the Excel sheet and see.
Right.
Oh, yes, it was, August 12th, 2012.
Wow.
All right, cool. Now I know exactly when I hung out with them.
That's cool.
It's pretty neat, and it sounds kind of obsessive, but it's like a 2-minute-a-day thing.
It sounds kind of obsessive, but
yeah.
no, sometimes taking a couple of seconds out of your day to make note of something has immense value. I wish I was a little bit better about that kind of thing.
It took me a long time to get into the habit. If you look at the spreadsheet in the beginning, it's like Green Day, red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 red. But then now I haven't missed a day now in 5 years.
Wow.
I think the last time I missed a day was Colleen's 30th birthday.
That's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't miss.
During
I didn't miss the day of our wedding. The day of our wedding, I didn't miss. I wrote 1,000 words that day.
Really? Before or after the wedding?
Oh, before.
Okay.
It was before.
Yeah,
I was sitting there anxious in my apartment. I had all my stuff moved over to Colleen's apartment because we're going to go live in her apartment after the wedding. And so my apartment was completely empty except for a bunch of pallets of soda cans that were going to be brought over to the reception area for a picnic we were having. And so I had to make a desk out of these things of Coke cans and chairs out of Coke cans. And that's what I was sitting on doing my writing. And I was like, all right, I was, kind of stressed out because I was getting married later that day.
Right.
But I had a couple hours, so I was like, I'm going to get it done. And I didn't miss the day that my daughter was born either. I mean, I don't remember what I was writing because I don't remember very much of that day because it was a blur.
Oh.
But I do remember not missing it. And I remember Colleen telling me I couldn't miss it either because she was totally on board with it. She was like, you're not missing this. So
That's awesome.
no, I mean, I would have been totally this is, I can miss a day of work. My daughter's being born today. And she's like, nope.
It's like, it's fine. I got it. I'll do all the work. You just sit there and write. No,
Well,
it's really supportive of her, actually.
She's super, super supportive.
She's incredible. She's an
Yes, she
incredible
absolutely
person.
is. Anyway, I don't remember where I was going with all that nonsense, but
That's cool. Who needs a point, right?
It's true. Yeah, I find
Your
that tracking that stuff on the side, even if it's just 2 seconds to jot down what I did, and if I did anything towards my personal goals, whatever those personal goals might be, and they were always changing, it's led to me feeling like I can look back and be like, you know what, I have grown. I have done a lot of stuff on the side. So yeah, I think it's been helpful.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there's this part of me that's like, oh gosh, I don't ever want to do that. But at the same time, I'm like,
Not for everybody.
think about the efficiency of the way that it like internally motivates you to do these extra things.
Well, that's I think the problem is that I'm not a very self-motivated person, and so in the beginning, I started doing this, and I would forget to track days, I would forget to track whole weeks, and so I'd have to be actually now it's even worse now that I think about it because since my daughter's been born, every day blurs together, and so it's like, oh my gosh, I know I've been doing something every single day because I have not missed a day yet, but I didn't write down on my spreadsheet the last 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, and I'm like, what did I do those days?
Interesting.
Well, I know I was working on artwork on that day, and I know that I went down and drove down to this place on this day for this whatever event thing, and I know I remember writing, when I got down there, or so it's like I have to sit there and play a memory game to kind of fill in the back catalog of it. So I don't always track the day of, especially since life has become so much more crazy. But I still do make time to do it, even if it's like, with the daughter asleep on my lap, I'll be sitting, doing artwork for an hour.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's really cool. I think, okay, so it's been about an hour since
Okay.
we started, because time goes by super quickly. Now everybody's kind of had a little bit of insight into who you are and stuff like that. Would you mind starting to ask seemingly random questions from chat, and perhaps? And from me, I have a handful that I like to...
You want me to ask random questions to them?
You get... Well, no, you don't have to ask them questions. The other way around.
Oh,
And
all right.
I have had so little sleep. I'm trying.
No,
so.
that's totally fine.
The
That's
super
totally
show
fine.
just, woo, you're at the tail end of me being alive at the moment. Everybody in chat, if you're okay with that.
I'm absolutely okay
cool
with that. Sure.
Seemingly
Absolutely.
random questions. All right,
Seemingly random questions.
at this point, Joe Mirabello, the creator of Tower of Guns, father of small child, and capabler personer of marking things down in an Excel spreadsheet and keeping track of stuff and progressing pretty coolly as a human, will answer your questions. The only thing that I ask is that you actually answer the questions if it's something that you yourself can answer. And I'm actually, at this point, because we're going to make a VOD of this, if you want to find out what questions get asked by Joe, you have to tune in to the next video, because that's what we're doing. Goodbye, people.